To top it all off, it was against the Filth, who we absolutely hate, of course. Johnny, good evening, my friend. How are you this evening?
Yeah, up and about, mate. It was that fourth quarter was something special, wasn't it? And it's always good to knock off Collingwood. It's been what I think they had the last 5 on us, the last 6 on us. They said on the commentary, so it was very nice to get one back on them.
Yeah, I think overall it's level peggings now, so it's good that we're making sure that we're keeping up our end of the bargain. We can't lose to the Filth. We obviously lost to them very badly early on in the year, and we needed to get that back. You were one of the ones that were, how can I say it, very disappointed in our opening 3 quarters.
Oh, look! If it wasn't for that last quarter, mate, I reckon you'd have an interim coach right now.
Yeah,
that was just disgusting. Yeah. The first half in particular, the third quarter, we gave a little bit of a whimper.
It was looking very, very dangerous. And look, and I want to talk about that throughout the show. You know, this is the fourth quarter, a band-aid over things. Is it glossing over the rest of the game? It's typical, of course, of us with our the way we're performing and the one-quarter efforts we're doing in many, many games. Very, very interesting. Good evening to our fantastic guests. Brendra Minchien is joining us this evening. Good evening to you, my friend. Jason Badger. G'day, Jace. Thank you for joining in. Debbie O'Connor says we've swapped sides. No, we're still Carlton. Don't worry about that. I might be going for Warford. and still batting for the same team, just quietly.
We're still hetero. Don't worry about that.
Kate Jezelenko, really appreciate you joining us tonight, Kate. I hope you're very well.
Blast from the past. Kate, how are you?
That's it. Who else have we got? Greg Sandow, Mildura hard lockdown, but the boys keep winning. It will make it easier. Yeah, one case of Mildura, so lock the joint down. They do. But we're all in lockdown, aren't we? My good friend Norm Whippy is up and about. G'day, Norm. Thank you for joining us.
Norm.
Down of Maryborough. Loving it down there. And thanks to Norm for breakfast a few weeks ago. I caught up with Norm in Maryborough at the Bournemouth Hotel for brekkie, and it was nice to catch up. And he even paid for brekkie, so that was an added bonus.
I'd expect that, Norm. Trev wouldn't shout of a shark betting, mate.
Moving right along. Paul Quixley's up and about. G'day, Paul. Thank you for joining us. The hard question, straight off the bat, and talking about the game, are we downhill skiers?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You know, there's only really that handful of players that you can count on when the chips are down, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. One in particular. In fact, a couple in particular we'll probably talk about. But there's no doubt that we are. And that needs to change.
Yeah, you're right. And, whilst it was a good win, the previous week against Geelong, we were smashed and couldn't kick a goal. So few of us have got short memories. I've got a short memory, but I can still remember it was only 2 weeks ago that happened. The Filth are a team that have, been down this year. Of course, only got up for us predictably, but we should have won that. We should have won it comfortably. Our 4-quarter effort should have been there. Potentially, we got away with it, and if it wasn't for our good friend Mr. Sam Walsh, maybe it might have been a different story.
Oh yeah, he was definitely the difference, wasn't he? Like you said, very well summarised there. Collingwood are rebuilding, aren't they? They're about to really bottom out and start getting draft picks over the next few years, whereas we should be at this stage of our development at least top 8. With those first 2 quarters or that first half, they smashed us. They should have been a lot. If they were a better team, they would have been 6 goals up. They just smashed us. They just pulled us apart, pulled our defence apart, pulled our forwards apart, and then springboarded beautifully for goals. And they just weaved through us. It was terrible to watch.
our forward delivery was non-existent. They were really working Mackay well. We were doing the old usual. We weren't dropping our eyes. Our defence were all over the place. To their credit, thank God they did. To their credit, a few of them, pulled their finger out and started to get on top, and started to show a bit of intensity. The tackling lifted. Martin's tackling lifted. We saw some good individual efforts in the guts. Kennedy was good. Martin, I think, did I say Martin? Martin's probably, started to pull his finger out. Williams came into the game. So Silvani was obviously, in and amongst it. So it was, they needed to do that. They needed to show something.
Yeah, they did. It's not a bad call from Gavin here. Stocker launched the fight back with his goal. Yeah, he's a little mongrel, isn't he? Love him. Love everything about him.
We questioned, and we want to see him in the guts, of course. That's where we see his future. And, we're questioning, what's he doing down at half back. But, maybe it's been the best thing for him, getting the pace of the game, seeing it unfold, getting a bit of opportunity to get fitter down there, do a bit of man-on-mark contested work and move his way in there. So maybe that's been the best for him is developing him down there before we throw him into the big stuff.
Yeah, you're right there. And he wasn't. If we were going to go pure midfield, he wouldn't have got the senior experience that he has under his belt now.
Yep.
Because at that stage we had too many ahead of him at that stage. But I also want to point out too something we've been harping on since forever is players into position. Cripps out of the side. All of a sudden, guess who has to pull their weight in the midfield? SPS and Fisher. How bloody good were they once they got in there? Yeah.
They're getting their opportunities. Obviously, Stocker has got his opportunity. We called him in there, and they're playing him. They're playing them. They're playing Stocker. They hasn't put him in and out. They could have easily sort of been one of those players that's in and out. They put Dowie in there, and they've continued to play him. And Dowie's looking like a spring chicken, and he's looking like he's got a new lease on life. He's going in for that hard ball. Some of the body stuff is still yet to come, and maybe if he gets a bigger body, that will help. But he's going in there. He's getting out of packs. He's picking up the ball, and he's on a mission, Dowie.
Oh yeah. Look at some players just take a little bit longer, don't they? Physically and mentally, some players are just ready to and born ready to play the game, like a Sammy Walsh. But look, it's, Dow, those hips and those upper legs, when he gets those behind his run, you cannot stop him and cannot tackle him. What I like is, and I mentioned this last week and probably the week before, is how good his kicking looks now. Like compared to previous years where we just went, oh my God. And just every time we got the ball, you just went shudder. How good has he been with that?
Yeah. I put a lot of that down to the composure element to it. He's more focused on getting the ball. Okay, my God, I've got the ball. Now what do I do with it? He's sort of just now putting those things together. And that composure comes through just playing. And that's what they're doing.
I think if I'm not mistaken, mate, you said that 2 years ago about him. Just be patient with him and just he just needs the confidence and just to play some football. Then you'll get there.
Yep. No, it's really good to see him up and about. Matty Kennedy's obviously up and about again. That's a really good sign for us. Potentially playing for a contract, no doubt. is Matty Kennedy. You see these things happen all the time, but he's the Matty Kennedy we've wanted, isn't he?
Yeah. Look at one of the highlights of this season for me, I think, is him finding his feet at the big level. He's been promising so much. The reason we got him is to be, to IC basically to Cripps in the midfield there, and just finally starting to find his feet. And it was only, probably 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, that we're all talking about what the hell is our midfield going to look like? What is it doing? It's still just Cripps and Walsh is coming on the scene. Well, where else are we going to get that drive from? And he's provided that. He's provided the answer that we've been looking for. And I just hope he continues on.
100%. Michael Howe says we haven't got any optimism. I know we're not jumping off the jumping off the rafters in excitement, but there's plenty of optimism. I think what we're both saying is that is that any other team potentially on Sunday, and it might not have gone our way. It's fantastic. The boys did what they did and stood up, and when we needed them to, and pulled it out and won the game. But that's the effort and intensity we expect every week and every quarter. We don't expect rebound round or have a go round or have a go quarter. We expect that intensity every week, every quarter, particularly because we know that that's in them. And that's the frustrating part we've all said this year, is that where is this effort and consistency week in, week out, quarter in, quarter out? That's all we ask for.
Yeah, and it eluded us again this week. It was just at the back end that we started to get going. But Jesus, we looked bloody terrible that first half. Just terrible. I was actually, and this is no joke, and I wrote this to you, is that first half I actually just decided to work on a PowerPoint presentation and just sort of have it on in the background because I just couldn't watch that again.
Andrew, like it even to you, our defensive pressure in that last quarter has to be benchmarked. Been a long time since we've made an opposition wilt. Yep, you're right. Everyone in that back line just lifted the notch that they needed to lift. Obviously, Weeders was there captaining and did a fantastic job as the standing captain. Jones, of course, was back to his best. Williams stood up. Sard and Williams, they were probably playing under a bit of duress. I think Williams had an ankle. Sorry, Sardi had an ankle. Williams started to do what we want him to do, and that's intercept, play on, have a crack, tackle. That's got to be his benchmark. You're 100% right. It's got to be the benchmark every week.
Yeah, poor Williams, though, he got battered about a bit, didn't he? He was on the ground like every 5 minutes. He looked really crook by the end of the game. I don't know if anyone remembers the old 80s movie Top Secret, and there was this guy called Latrine who just always came into shot with bandages around him and blood everywhere and just fell into someone's arms. That's what Williams looked by the end of it.
Yeah. No, good on him. I expected him to potentially do some midfield time with Cripper out, but no, that's good. They put him down there and they kept him down there where he was needed. The other sort of bloke that stood up and has been down of late, and back to what Andrew said about benchmarking. Martin, pulled out his finger, and that's his best game in a really, really long time. He was he was moving all over the ground. Obviously, his forward efforts and kicking those goals are really important, but laying a few tackles, again, that's what we want from him. And maybe he got a rocket up him, because I would have thought his place in the side was on shaky ground if he didn't pull something out like he did on Sunday.
Yeah, we all thought that, and I was surprised to see him keep his spot, to be honest, as we were the previous week. But I just want to go back to one comment, and I can't scroll down, that said, do we bring Charlie in for Ed's 200th? Going by the match report or the scratchy report, that it's probably far too soon for Charlie. He just hasn't got that touch yet. But on the other side of the equation, I'm going to pose this to everyone: do you think this will be Ed's last game?
Last game or last year?
Last game.
Really? That's an interesting proposition. I hadn't thought about it. First of all, fantastic effort by Ed to get to 200 games. He's an honest workhorse player, tagger, scragger, reliable, consistent, hasn't been a superstar, but 200 games of honest footy. Whether he'd potentially get 200 games in another side, we can debate that. Fact is, he's made it to 200 and wears his heart on his sleeve and does. Never can doubt, Mr. Ed's effort every week. So fantastic to get to the 200 anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's deserved it. No worries about that. But it's just, as we progress and start climbing the ladder, I don't think we can handle someone with his foot skills, which appear to be going further downhill than what they ever have been. He got caught, 2 or 3 times in the first half, just delivering a sloppy ball into the forward line. It just comes straight back out and straight down the other end for a goal. So that's why I suggest it.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it'll be his last game, but potentially another contract may not be coming his way. There's other players we need to to put into that role. Ramsey. Who else have we got in there that we need to play? Had too many beers tonight.
Setterfield, hopefully he gets right.
Hopefully.
But
I think, and Ed said in an interview today, he said, "Look, if they show me the door and they say, 'See you later, Ed,' he'll shake their hand and say, 'Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the ride.' And he'll get on with his life."
He's that sort of bloke.
Yep, got a family to make and a home to raise and other things to do. And he said that with the utmost of integrity and a smile on his face. And I think this year will probably see Ed out, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough. I just thought I would pose a question and I want to repose it in a different sort of a way. Assume Cripps is ready to come back in. Who goes out?
Well, there's a few questions on selection, isn't there, this week? There's Murphy and his 300th. I can't remember where you're sitting on that. Are you giving the games, or are you sending him off in the sunset?
If he can take someone's spot, then yes. I didn't think that. Redknapp. I don't think he had a particularly good game. He was okay. So Murph could come in and massage the team around for that. I think he's a better player than Redknapp. So potentially, yes. But, we've got to really be looking to the future. You don't want to displace Fisher. You don't want to displace SPS. You don't want to displace Martin. Fogarty and who's the other little bloke from Williamstown? We haven't missed them at all.
Gibbons.
Yeah, Gibbons. Williamstown. I hope I was right there with the Williamstown. So, who do you displace really to bring him in?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a hard one. Obviously Cripps, comes straight in. It'll probably be someone like Cottrell or Williamson that makes their way in. Maybe potentially SPS makes his way. I liked the games of Cottrell and Williamson. They play Williamson up high. A high half forward, a high half back, sort of wing type. I couldn't really see where he's playing too well on the coverage, but he was sneaking up forward, and I liked his composure. And I liked what he was doing with the ball in hand. He seemed a lot more composed and loved that little bit of extra run he was getting. So, if Cripps didn't come in, you'd say potentially leave the side alone.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm happy with that. It was suggested twice here, Murphy for Owies. I don't buy that whatsoever, because he still adds so much in creating opportunities, creating space for other players, doing the hard things, doing the forward pressure. He's really the one shining light, I think, in that forward line of working all day.
Yeah. Look, I think Cripps will come in for Cottrell. Even though Cottrell did a pretty good game, he'll be around next year. Cotters, he's a good hard worker, and he'll work on his skills and running. He's a good runner, so I think he'll be okay with that. And I think they will play Murphy, and I think they'll bring him in as the sub. So if they put him in as the sub and Fogarty out, then I think that'll be the changes.
Yeah, that's a fair call, but I think we've really gotten right off track here, and we're really missing the key point. Grego, I hate Collingwood.
That is a good point. And finally won a $100 Dan Murphy's voucher off my good friend up in Port Douglas, Mr. Brett Parker, who's a very avid watcher of this show and an annoying little midget that he is. Apologies for any midgets out there, but finally got one back on him, and I expect that Dan Murphy's voucher to be arriving very, very soon.
So how many grand does it cost you to get that Dan Murphy voucher back?
Yeah, let's not go over that, eh? Let's not go over it. I usually take about 7 or 8 weeks to pay him, so you'll probably do the same thing to me. Jared Johnson says Nunes for Charlie. Well, Charlie does want to play for his with his brother. Look, if they put Charlie, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. This point in time of the year, I'm not going to care less. Maybe it is good for him to put him in and instead of running around in the Magoos somewhere in a scratchy at Coburg or somewhere. I don't know.
It's not even in the Magoos. They're not playing Magoos. It's some hybrid teams from 4 teams. That's I've got no problem with it.
Some dickhead from Footscray's reserves falling over his ankle or something like that. I wouldn't sit comfortably with me. But put him in the Marvel Stadium, give him some minutes there. Why not? You don't keep your best Colts in the stable.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that is how you get Murphy. He's 300. Start with Charlie. Give him a quarter. Give him a half the next week.
Yep. Maybe do it.
But I'd much rather see him do it on the big stage.
Okay.
Give him the taste back. It's been 2 years since he's played a senior game. Give him the taste back of what senior football's about. But saying that, do you then chuck in any chances of making finals?
Just get him ready for the grand final. Kate Jezelenko has got a photo from Clarko she would like to share with all CFC lovers. Is it him holding a Carlton Guernsey? I'm not sure. Send it. Can you message it to me, Kate? I'm not sure whether you can. Send it to me on Messenger, and I'll try and put it up on the broadcast. There's a bit of noise still around for Clarko.
Well, I tell you what, if it wasn't for that last quarter, wouldn't just be noise.
Well, at one point in time, I was looking through the yellow pages looking for his phone number, white pages looking for his phone number. So, I don't know. It was looking. Yeah, it could have been the downfall. It could have been really the downfall if we'd gone on to lose that one, couldn't
it? Yeah, absolutely. But look, just want to have we gone through a few, because there's one thing that I really want to talk about.
Oh, I just want to talk about Sam Walsh again, unless I'm cutting your lunch by talking about Sam.
No, go for it.
I'm not ashamed to admit this. I had an erotic dream about Sam on Sunday night. Thankfully,
Did it include Levi as well?
No, Levi wasn't there. But thankfully, I can't remember all the details, so there's one part of my brain that's protecting me from that. But I just know that I did have that erotic dream. But that wasn't the worst part about it, because I fell asleep after I'd been given the missus a rub on her back with some deep heat. So yeah, you can put two and two together where the hand might have ended up during the night, and straight into the shower the next morning, thanks to good old Sammy Walsh. Not many people are going to listen to this, right? What can I say? Go ahead.
Moving right along. No, just finish that up cleanly. What a magnificent game that he had. He was just sensational. In fact, there's going to be a new book come out, Sam Walsh. It's going to be Where's Sammy? It's going to be a book for 0 to 1 year olds, because he's going to be fucking everywhere. What I wanted to bring up on a serious note was Jack Silvani, and what a poignant moment it was when he pointed to the heavens, and also the tears that he shed after the game, and I think we all got a little bit emotional at both of those particular pieces. But I think that's been all documented and all that. He didn't have to play on Sunday, but I reckon within himself he felt that he really had to for his pop and for all of his family. But I just want to go back a bit and just think about Jack now and what he's been through since he's been at the club. Obviously, came through as a later draft pick as a father and son, and always got that stigma attached that you're not as good as your dad, you're not as good as your dad, not as good as your grandfather type of thing. And, he wasn't the most well-liked figure when he came to the club, as I understand, but he's worked his absolute backside off. He was in and out of the team, and he's worked his backside off to become almost, first picked on the sheet every week. He's gone through his dad being arseholed from the club that he loves and his family loves. He's gone through his brother being not arseholed, because he was more just, let go and gone to Sydney Reserves, now back to Northern Bull Ants. And he played on the weekend with as much fire and passion for the Carlton jumper as anyone that I've seen. And I don't want to point him out for this week, because that's what he does every single week that he plays. And that's what we need from 22 players. We need 22 players with Jack's heart and soul that he puts in every single week. He puts everything out in the park, brings nothing back. He just leaves it all out there. And we need that from 22 players. So, Jack, I think you don't need my congratulations, but congratulations on the player and man that you've become. I think every single one of those boys that were out there on the ground, and including the Collingwood players, respected you on the weekend. So well done.
Very well said, mate. Very well said. Loving what Sauce is doing this year. Picked him as my most improved at the start of this year. Love what he brings to the side every week. He's a clever footballer. Obviously had his injuries concerns as well. But yeah, he's Carlton through and through. And shame we lost Ben. Maybe that under different circumstances we might have kept him, and potentially, maybe rethinking that decision given the fact where we are sitting with, our defensive stocks. But yeah, fantastic, and I'm sure we all teared up. A few of us teared up on the day too.
Yeah. Look, so the question was asked before: does McGovern stick around at Carlton? I said a couple of weeks ago I didn't think so, because we couldn't afford to pay him what he's after. So if he wants to stick around and be on a heavily reduced salary, but he would be one of the ones you'd keep around because of what you just said there. That we've got the lack of tools in the back line to help out should there be an injury. So that might be safeguard, but he won't play that game. He'll want to go to another club and earn as much money as he can. And he's welcome to go, because we simply can't afford him. We're seeing every week Sam Walsh is getting exponentially better, not incrementally better, exponentially better. And the contract you're going to have have for him to keep him over a long period of time. It's got, I saw it someone on one of the Carlton pages it's going to rival the Buddy contract.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Gov. I think he'd be happy to and understand that he'd have to get a reduced contract, moving forward and fit in with where he wants to be. I think he did come to us potentially as being a forward option for us. That wasn't by his desire. That was where we sort of brought him into the club as to fix our forward issues. So I think we need someone like him to be around there, and we give him another crack. And if we were to lose Jones or Wiedering, then we're screwed. So I think.
Oh, yeah, proved it last week.
Yep. We've got McDonald, who's also, we don't know where he'll end up or what will happen with him. But I'll back Gov in next year, and let's get him down. Let's get him down back. Marchbank's. Not Marchbank won't be back. We'll need someone like McGovern down there.
Yep. Fair call.
But list management in general is going to be really, really interesting. There's a lot of players there that I shouldn't say a lot will turn over, but there's players that aren't getting their opportunities. O'Brien's one of those players. He's not getting picked. We've got so many O'Brien molds. That unfortunately I just don't see him being around. I hope he gets an opportunity somewhere else next year. He's one that we'll probably see off. SPS is an interesting one. I know he loves the footy club, but is he one of those ones that we could potentially look at offloading for some currency somewhere else next year? Maybe back home to WA. Potentially we could.
Yeah, look, if it's a deal somehow tied up with Adam Chera, then you'd look at it, wouldn't you? We said that a few weeks ago.
Yep.
But yeah, look, it's interesting. It's more interesting when you bring Kennedy into the mix because he's going to need a senior contract. If Cottrell keeps playing the ones, he's going to need a senior contract.
Yep.
And there's another one that I think Owies is still a rookie. He's going to need a senior contract.
Yep.
So it's very, very interesting times, isn't it?
Speaking of which, Chris Bryder asked the question, will this be the last 5 weeks for Casbolt, Murph and Eddie? We've also already talked about Ed Curnow, so add him to the mix. Can't see Casbolt, unfortunately, coming back into the side, particularly the way TDK is going about what he's doing, and we've got JSOS doing a good job as a backup. It's working really, really well. Having that operation happening, Levi was just really there to do that ruck role, and he was just contesting. Unfortunately, his form is way, way, way off. I can't see him being around next year. Murph won't be here next year, and Eddie. So I think we're just got to go into these last 5 weeks, just enjoying the fact that we might be seeing the last. Well, we will be seeing the last of Murph. We might not see Casbolt again, and just go into it and maybe just enjoy every moment of Eddie and Murph for the next 5 weeks if they can manage to get out there.
Yeah, the 2 Eddies, I think.
Yep. So yeah, it's been a good ride. I just said I do hope. We talked about this a few weeks ago whether Murph deserves to get to his 300th, and is he taking someone's spot? I think they'll have a chat to the group and the team, and I think someone will put their hand up and happily make way for Murph if it gets to that point. In terms of deserve it, his form obviously doesn't deserve it because he's been out injured, but over 295 games or whatever he's played, absolutely deserves it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Anything else that stood out from the game you wanted to talk about?
Oh, there probably is, but let's move on.
Yeah, there's a lot. As I said, I think we got away with it. We wouldn't have. We've said it already. Our tackles were ridiculously low, 40 to 60, shocking. Our inside 50 tackles were shocking. Thank goodness our disposal efficiency picked up across the course of the game, and our contested possessions were up. But yeah, we would have, do that against North Melbourne this week, and their contested footy and the way they're going about it. If we don't match that, and they get on the scoreboard, we won't be able to come back from that. Because they're at the moment a 4-quarter consistent side in terms of effort.
Yeah, right. I haven't seen them play this year, so that's interesting. Yeah, do they really have the weapons up forward to be able to hit the scoreboard though?
Oh, they don't have the weapons. What they've got is effort and consistency, and if you bring that against Carlton, potentially you're advanced. You
create opportunities then, don't you? You create opportunities.
100%. We are a whimsical in and out team that is unpredictable in terms of our consistency and effort. We'd hope that our class gets us over the line, but back again. Play like we did in that last quarter. Effort, intensity, tackling, and ball movement. The Carlton way, Tiki calls it, the Carlton brand. Yep, it's a win for us. It's a win for us. The whole next 5 games are W's in my mind. They're opportunities for W's. We shouldn't talk about finals, but we should be talking about winning those last 5 games.
Yeah, Port I've got a question mark on. They seem to have our measure quite comfortably and did at the start of the season.
Yep. But, obviously no crowds again this week. North Melbourne, they always go well against us. They always do. And they're up and about. They'll smell blood. They'll smell blood for sure.
They gave us a real scare last year, didn't they? We ended up winning by a comfortable margin, but they took it right up to us. I think it was only up until the last 10 minutes where we kicked away, if I remember that correctly.
Yep, they did indeed. So it's going to be a good battle, Harry versus Ben for the first time. That's going to be interesting to see. That's going to be a good battle. They love a bit of banter, the boys, and I'm sure they'll be up and about wanting to play on each other. And hopefully the delivery into Harry is as good as we know we can do it when we do it, and he should get his measure.
It's going to be fantastic, isn't it? If they swap jumpers, you wouldn't know.
So we talked about Cripper coming back in. We've touched on this a couple of times in the show. The fact that now Dow, Bam Bam is doing okay in the guts. We've got obviously Fisher and SPS that can run through there. What a perfect opportunity for Cripper to have a little break from the hard stuff and just settle around in the half forward line and kick some goals.
Yeah, why not? It's not exactly a strong point though, kicking for goal, though, is it?
Well, he could do with the practice, that's for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. It's the other side of the coin.
Gavin Whelan says maybe it's an idea to give him another week. That might be something. That might be something as well. The injury report this week suggests that he is right, but maybe he's right if we do play him at centre half forward. And I think that's a really good option to consider now that we've got a bit of firepower in the guts.
Yep.
And they're a young side with a young midfield. They've got a big bull in there in terms of Cunnington. But put our young midfield up against their young midfield to be a good head-to-head battle.
Yeah, well, you'd have yep, I like that.
Stocker versus Zerha, someone says. Says Heath, that'll be a really, really good battle. Two hard bulls going at it 100%. That'll be a really, really good battle. Clint Bart McRae's on board. He says what he says up there. My mum's watching tonight, so I better not say that. She's already probably got me in trouble. Greg Sandow says bets one more year. Rookie?
Yeah, rookie, but I think he currently is on the rookie list.
Is he? Oh, he might be.
He put himself there so we could free up the extra space at the start of the year. So I wouldn't rule it out, and I'd be happy with it. But I'd also be happy for him to go now because he's still going out playing good footy.
Yeah. So the review is on at the moment. We haven't heard too much about it. It's obviously just going through the motions. I've been listening to a bit of Carlton media and the boys speak this week or since sort of the last few weeks. They're focusing on what they need to do. A lot of them are still talking up Teague as they would. It's going to be interesting to see the results of where that sits.
Yeah, look, we touched on it a bit last week, but we were both pretty drunken, so probably not with any degree of intellect. But we're still, and this Sunday's game showed it again as well. We're still 3-4 goals behind the best teams in the competition, and a good team would have been 3 or 4, even more goals up by the end of the game. So the review needs to be not a witch hunt, not a sack list type of thing. It's about, all right, what do we need to do overall and specifically to be able to shut that 3 or 4 goal gap. Now, other teams who are at the top are going to get incrementally better as well. So we have to make probably 5-6 goals up before the next season starts, don't we, really? So that's what instead of being a witch hunt, that is exactly what the review needs to be. How do we get 5 or 6 goals better to be able to compete at the top level next year? What do we need to do?
In Teague's credit, I'm seeing some incremental differences, and I don't know whether the review has triggered this, but I'm seeing those differences. Obviously, we're seeing more time, midfield time for people like Dow and Kennedy. So that's one thing.
Is that a Barker thing, though? Is that a Barker thing?
Well, it shouldn't be because Teague's the senior coach and he should be ensuring that those kind of things happen. If there's too many cooks in the kitchen and that's not happening, a lot of people saying that kind of thing is down to Luke Power coming in and saying, get these guys in. But at the end of the day, Teague's responsible for putting putting them in. Maybe it isn't. Maybe Barker had a bit more to say in the scheme of things than he maybe, or that we know about. either way, it's been a change. It's been a change for good. And we've all been taught. We've only the supporters have only been asking about it for the whole season, let alone the last few weeks. So that's been a good feather in their cap. I've noticed quite a bit more overall system and structure, the way the side is gelling together as a team in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I think there seems to be a bit more cohesion. There seems to be a bit more enjoyment in the way they're playing and gelling together as a team. I don't know whether that's got something to do with it. Our defence has tightened up considerably. We've seen a few leaks, but I think that they're working a lot better together. So I've seen some things, some positive things happen, and I don't know whether that review has triggered T just to let his hair down a little bit and coach with a little bit more less fear, might I say, or whether it's just a coincidence. I don't know.
Yeah, well, up until when that review was announced, it was chalk and cheese of the Teague that started coaching to the Teague that was midway through the season. Because when he started, he was just trying things and just letting the boys just have a go and get out there and play to their strengths and do 3 or 4 team things and then just go out there and enjoy it and do what you do. Type of thing, and there was a lot of freedom, and the kids were absolutely loving playing. You could see it, and that we really made a charge home in that last half of the season, those last 11 games, 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
So maybe it needs to get back to that a bit, but that's what the review's got to bring out.
Yep. Obviously, the selection has been there. There's been sort of not a lot of changes unless it's been for injury purposes. So there's been consistency in that. Obviously we talked about Dow and Kennedy playing, but it would have been easy to make a few changes last week. But he kept the likes of Williamson into the team. He's kept Nunes in the team. He's kept Martin in the team. So that kind of consistency potentially also helps as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
5 weeks to go. What do you? If we talk about, let's say that we might not make the finals. What do you want to see? Do you want to see Kemp get a crack? Do you want to see Charlie obviously come in? Honey is another one that potentially we want to try and see. Do you bring these guys in, or just continue to play the team that's available? Jack Carroll, another one.
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks we were both of the opinion that you just play them now and see what they're like. But I guess when you start to look at what you just talked about and how has that confidence in and stability in the mix of the 22 is that contributing to the confidence of the team? And if we start making changes willy nilly here and taking people out, will that impact us greatly next year? I don't know the answer to that, but I'd like to see Kemp have a go, but I don't like that he's being put into a key back role. That's not what he is. So once he's back in the centre and killing it there, then bring him in.
Yeah, and look, he hasn't set the world on fire in the twos. It's been good that he's getting on the park. That's the best thing that can happen for the footy club.
Yeah.
It's a real positive, and it's a shame if we do miss finals this year, because I think that's why I was hoping to finish 8th and have a crack at one final. If we win 4 or 5 on the way home and finish 9th, that's just I would count that as a waste.
Yeah, fair enough. But it might even be the 11 games get you in this year. The way things are going. So no one seems to want that last spot. And, West Coast is not all that safe either. West Coast is it I'm thinking of? Whoever's in 7th, they're not all that safe either. So, it's going to be an interesting finish. I really want us to play finals this year as well, because even if we're not going to compete, you just want to have that experience of what a final is. You need that under your belt before you can start to win them. Yep,
100%. And it's there to be won. We've got a best run we could ever hope for on the way home. Potentially we'll be staying in Melbourne for those 5 weeks with all the crap that's going on. And I think we're up to the charge. Up to the charge. Particularly if we play our brand. So Tiki says.
Yeah. Look, we're only going to be allowed to play our brand though in certain patches. So what we do when we're not playing the way we want is concerning me.
Yeah. Very good. All right, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got a big game coming up. It's going to be Saturday. I think about Saturday 1:40 is the game against North this week. Another empty stadium. That's disappointing. I was looking forward to going to that game with a very good North Melbourne friend of mine. But I'm hoping to see more of that 4-quarter effort. I put an extra few bob on Walshy for the Brownlow. He's still about 10-1. So have you got a few bucks? Why wouldn't you have a crack at him? He's, we've won. How many games have we won? 7 games. 6 games. 7 games. If he hasn't polled in 6 of those, I'll eat my hat. He's up there in the coaches' awards. So coming home like a freight train. Why wouldn't you have a crack at him?
Yep.
Johnny put $1,000 on him at 81 bucks at the start of the year, didn't you, mate?
85 was, mate. 85.
Yeah, okay. 85,000 or 85 to 1?
85 to 1.
Very good. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us. Fantastic to beat the filth. Suck it in, all you filth supporters, for any of you closet watching us tonight. We'll see you next week after another win. Good night, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for your contribution tonight.
Digby Morel Cup. Good night. Good evening. Good on you, Alex.
Good night, guys. Thank you.